Hello, and welcome to the West Branch Kitchen for Flavor Bites. I'm Kendra, and today I'll be showing you how to make a cool and refreshing Spanish soup called Gazpacho. It's served cold and it takes absolutely no time to make, so it's the perfect meal for these hot summer days. Today we'll be making two versions of Gazpacho. One will use a blender and one will not. Let's go ahead and get started. First, let's go over our ingredients. Now, because we're making two versions, we have more than you would typically need to make this recipe. So if you're making this at home, feel free to cut all of these measurements in half. We have 3 pounds of ripe Roma tomatoes, 2 green bell peppers, 1 red onion, a garlic bulb. We'll probably use about 4 cloves of garlic from that, 2 cucumbers, some salt and pepper, about a teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 cup of tomato juice, some extra virgin olive oil, and some red wine vinegar. To start, you're just going to take about 2 pounds of your Roma tomatoes, cut them into halves, and put them into your blender. Although if you have too small of a blender, you may need to run it in shifts. Next, you're going to peel your cucumber, and then we will split it in half lengthwise and scoop out some of the seeds. To take the seeds out, just use a spoon and kind of grate it in the middle. You don't need to get all of the seeds out. They can just kind of mess with the texture of the soup, so getting a good portion of them out is ideal. Once the seeds are out, just roughly chop and add it to the blender with the tomatoes. Next, we need to de-seed and roughly chop our green bell pepper. To do this, I find it's easiest to flip the bell pepper over onto its top and then cut around the seeds by following the lobes in the pepper. This way you don't have to worry about seeds getting everywhere. You get the majority of the pepper, and these little bits at the bottom you can just cut around. Nice and easy. From there, again, just roughly chop and then add it to your blender with the other ingredients. After our green pepper comes our red onion. Now, I don't like red onion very much, so I'm only going to add 1/4 of this, but you can add a half. If you really love it, you can even add a whole. But to do this, we're just going to cut it into quarters. It's good to have a nice sharp knife when you're dealing with onions, because the sharper the knife, the less the onion will make you cry. Now, peel the skin off as best you can, and then cut off the root end, because you don't want any roots in your nice refreshing soup. And again, roughly chop and stick in your blender with the other ingredients. Now we just need to add 2 garlic cloves. So first we need to peel them. To do that, we're going to lay it flat on our cutting board, put our knife flat over it, and with the heel of our hand, just press down. So we're smashing the garlic clove. This will make the skin come off a lot more easily than if you were to try and peel it. And then you can just add the whole thing directly to the blender. Now we just need to add our seasonings and our liquids. So we're going to take a pinch of salt and pepper and just sprinkle that on. You can add more after it's already blended. And then we're going to take about a 1/2 teaspoon of our ground cumin and sprinkle that in as well. Cumin can have a really strong flavor, so don't add too much at the start. You can always add more later. Now we have 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil that we're going to pour in over top, and 2 tablespoons of our red wine vinegar that we're also going to pour in. Now we are ready to blend. So put your lid on and blend this on about medium speed for about a minute until it's completely smooth. Our soup is all blended, it's nice and smooth, so now we just need to pour it into a bowl and chill it for a few hours before serving. If you have a small blender and needed to make this in 2 batches, go ahead and blend the rest up and then just give it a nice good stir in the bowl so you're mixing both parts together. Our second version of gazpacho is very, very easy. It just takes a little bit more work because you are going to finely chop all of your vegetables. I like a chunky gazpacho, so I'm leaving mine a little bit bigger. Next, you can move on to your cucumber. We're going to peel this one and just chop it finely. Next, we're going to chop our green bell pepper. Next is our red onion. We will chop it and cut it finely. Now we need to add 2 garlic cloves. Take off all of the skin and then make slits in the top and then just cut down. Now we just need to add our seasonings. So again, pinches of salt and pepper to taste. And once again, if you think it needs a little more of either, you can add it once it's chilled. And then the remaining ½ teaspoon of our ground cumin. Now we are ready for our liquids. So we have 1 cup of tomato juice here. We're just going to pour that on top. Because we're not blending, we do need this added liquid to make it more of a soup. Then measure out a ¼ cup of extra virgin olive oil and add that as well. And finally, we have 2 teaspoons of our red wine vinegar. Add that and then give everything a good mix. So this gazpacho, while still being very cool and refreshing, will probably remind you quite a bit of salsa because it is so chunky. So I highly recommend eating this with tortilla chips because it is fantastic. Once you have everything mixed together, you can cover this and chill it in the refrigerator for a few hours before serving. If you want to add protein to this, you can very easily just toss in some cooked meat like chicken or steak, or if you want added protein but want to keep it vegetarian, you can add quinoa or any other high protein grain. You can serve your finished gazpacho in a variety of ways. In a nice bowl, if it's smooth enough, you can even serve it in a glass. The smooth version works really, really well with some nice crusty bread, which you can learn how to make in our no knead bread video. The chunkier one works very, very well as a nice side dish. It's a super refreshing meal and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for joining me today on Flavor Bites. Enjoy your gazpacho and I'll see you next time.